Hi there, guys. Welcome to Crafting Dynamic Characters at Lightning Speed. This is a conversation that's going to be talking all about unleashing the power of AI for novelists. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to have a blast having this conversation because there's so much good stuff that can come out of utilizing AI in specific ChatGPT to help you create your stories even faster, and including and especially your characters. So, who am I? My name is Carissa Andrews, and I am a novelist and creative entrepreneur. I'm also the CEO of Author Revolution. You may have heard me as the host of the Author Revolution podcast. There are more than 250 episodes out so far. But I also have 14 years of experience in writing and publishing with more than 25 books under my plate, under my backlist, in my backlist, at the behind me at this point, okay? And I have a passion for blending technology with storytelling. I also have a propensity to go woo. So if I go mindset on you as well, don't be surprised, because to me, getting into mindset is just as important as being able to talk about and get into the strategy of things. So today you're going to be learning how to utilize ChatGPT for rapid character development, which is obviously why you're here, right? But we're also going to be talking about blending AI suggestions with your creative vision, maintaining your unique authorial voice, because that's super important when using AI or ChatGPT tools like this. And of course, learning how to streamline your writing workflow, because that is the thing that I have found over the past year and a half, almost 2 years utilizing ChatGPT, how it has revolutionized my writing journey. It's really been in this streamlining the workflow process. So, really briefly, I just want to talk about the evolution of writing tools, especially if you're one of those people who are a little bit on the fence when it comes to AI. Maybe you're worried about how it is incorporating other people's work, how we are, developing this thing so fast. Just keep in mind that writers have always embraced technology and innovation. We are creators, so we are constantly in the process of trying to figure out like how to make our job easier, right? So from quill pens to our beloved laptops, we've been using the tools to break barriers and aid our creativity. And of course, when you think about it, AI is just the next logical step towards saving time and being more efficient in our storytelling. So we are utilizing a tool. That's all AI is. It is not going to, write the story for you, at least not as of yet. It is going to require some very specific prompts and then your input as a creator when it comes to utilizing it in whatever way, shape, or form you are trying to create with ChatGPT. So whether it be from this character creation side of things all the way through to writing, you're going to be, as the creator, the person in the power seat. Okay. So let's unlock AI's potential in character creation. There are three ways. So the first one is letting AI build your characters for you. And now, what do I mean by that? It's really about if you're the type of person who's not a huge fan of creating characters, maybe like the character themselves is not as important to you when it comes to getting the planning side of things. You just want to get your story down, your world down, the other elements and aspects. This is a way to be able to use ChatGPT to really help you to get some dynamic characters, as long as you're willing to memorize or onboard the information when they create the character for you. So, what do I mean by this? You basically enter into ChatGPT that you want some help, letting them create the character, giving a specific prompt or a couple of like quick tips to the prompting process, and just taking on board what ChatGPT will give you. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to take the first round. Maybe it gives you some details and you have to reprompt. But the point is to just let Chat create the character for you. You then onboard it into your creation sheet, whether you're using Scrivener or whatever you're using when it comes to keeping track of your characters, and then you move on, right? The next way is to fill in the blanks. So if you have character sheets like I do, you can feed the character sheet directly into ChatGPT and allow Chat to create the character based off of all the things that you want Chat to be able to tell you about. So with the first one, Chat's going to come up with its own character sheet in essence. With the second, you're giving it specific parameters of what you want it to fill out, the ways that this character is going to operate, so that you can get it more clear in your head. So you can get very specific. You can ask it like very specific questions. And we're going to get into some of the fun ones a little bit later. But if you have a character sheet that you have been using, this is a great way to be able to like force ChatGPT to give you some very specific information. And if you're anything like me, I would fill out the first part of it and get to about halfway through and be like, oh my gosh, there's so many questions. I don't know if I want to keep going. Or chat can do it for you so much quicker. The other way, which is my favorite way to do it lately, is to actually chat it out with chat. So, what that means is you start with a simpler prompt to ChatGPT, say, hey, I need your help creating a character, and go back and forth with chat in order to create the character in the kind of vision you're seeing. And so then it becomes a more collaborative process while creating this character. And I'm going to show you each one of these things in a live demo, but I just want to give you a heads up of what these get to look like for you first, okay? So let's talk about letting AI build your characters for you. Now, they can generate a specific and comprehensive character profile instantly. I kid you not, it's so fast. And I'll show you how this works in just a second. But it's going to include details like background, personality, motivations, like all the good things that we want when it comes to our character creation when we're developing characters and getting ready to go, right? So an example prompt could be create a detailed character sheet for a 30-year-old treasure hunter with a fear of heights who will be the main female character in a science fiction action adventure series. So do you see how it's very specific? It's giving details of what you want this particular character to be, but letting it have enough space and room that ChatGPT can create the character for you. Okay, so I'm going to give you a practical example. I'm going to stop sharing this screen for a second, and we're going to share ChatGPT because I think it's going to be helpful for you to see just how cool this can be. Now, I have a different prompt that I'm using. It's, hey, chat, help me create a character for my upcoming urban fantasy series about vampires roaming a small town in Minnesota. Okay, so let us show you this quick. So that's what it's saying. I'd like to create a quirky, fun side character that will be comic relief. And that's all I've got so far. So let's just go ahead and click go. And then you'll get to see how quickly it does the work for you. So what it does is it onboards the information, thinks about what you're saying, and it starts to extrapolate and create the character. And what's really interesting is it goes through a lot of information. So it creates the name, look at this, age, the species, the occupation, personal traits, backstory, role in the story, quirks, catchphrases. I mean, holy cow, it's giving you all sorts of information, potential story moments, and then it's saying feel free to do more, right? Now, if you have used ChatGPT before, you're going to be able to see that down here you can switch the model. This is like right now a temporary chat is how I'm putting this in there. But if I wanted this temporary chat to be used, I could just swap it over to a real model and be able to save this particular information. Otherwise, when we're done, it will be wiped off and I won't see it again. But think about how fast that created a character for you. Now, if there are elements in here that you didn't like, so let's say, well, bite me, wait, don't is a catchphrase, and you don't like that, you could say, hey, I don't like the catchphrases, try it again. Or you could say, I don't want it to be a vampire. I want it to be something else that's going to be completely opposed to vampirism. Whatever the case might be, have a conversation with chat until you get the character perfectly right. All right. So that's the first example. Now let's go back to our slides. All right. So when AI fills in the blanks for you, that means you're providing that template that we were talking about and letting AI fill it out. Okay. And when that happens, you're going to allow chat to customize all of the sections, like the strengths and the weaknesses and the quirks, just like it just did, but it's going to be a little bit different. So you'd have an example prompt like using this specific character sheet, fill the rest of the details in to make a dynamic adversary for my main male character in a new space opera about zombies in space, whatever. So that's an example there, right? So let's do another practical example. Let's go ahead and I'm going to share my screen in just a second. I need to grab my character sheet, which is over in Scrivener. All right. Just highlight it and get it ready to go. And then we're going to hit share screen again. All right, so now you're over here at the chat window again. I've already got the prompt ready for you. So it says, help me create a character for my upcoming urban fantasy series about vampires roaming the small town. Same thing, right? Fun side character, same prompt. But it's saying, please fill in the following sheet fields, right? So I've got like the role, occupation, location, age, Does the character have a birthmark? What about scars? Vehicle, personality, positive traits, negative traits, introverted, extroverted, Enneagram type, quirks. But then I even have like all those questions that I was saying that I kind of stop answering by the time I get halfway down. But it's fun to see. What makes your character laugh out loud? It's Saturday at noon. What is your character doing? Give some details. So there's some fun questions in here that it allows ChatGPT to kind of go ahead and fill out. So I'm going to go ahead and hit go. Again, it's thinking, it's going to process all of the information and then give you some really specific details. Now, one of the things I want you to note is that when you create a custom GPT or when you've even just been using chat for a while, it starts to familiarize itself with your work, your specific work. So it will learn your series. It will learn your characters. It will learn the way that you're writing. It will learn some of the information that you're telling it because it's going to help you uh, write things faster, whether it be social media posts, whether it be character creation, whether it be outlining a new series. Having a context window will help it help you faster, right? Okay, so same thing, right? We're gonna go through. So this is all that side character information. It's giving the role, comedic side relief, occupation is this, location is that, age, right? Actual age, love it. It's giving height, it's giving style of hair. Does it have a birthmark? Yes, that's where it's at. Scars, personality, bubbly, positive traits, negative traits, extroverted. Ooh, he's an enthusiast for Enneagram. So you see how quickly it created all of the information when it comes to your personal character sheet. Now, as you're going through it, again, if you don't like something in there, feel free to either change it yourself or ask ChatGPT to create something slightly different for you. And that's the whole beauty of using a chatbot like this, because you're able to go back and forth and dynamically create the character like having a co-writer or someone that's helpful when it comes to like bouncing ideas off of. That's what's so fun about ChatGPT. You don't have to just take the first thing that gives you. You can put your input in it and allow it to create and draft exactly the kind of character you're thinking. And sometimes what happens is as you're creating these characters, with the help of chat, it's going to spark your own creativity, right? It's going to make you think, oh, no, you know what would be even better? I would like it to be this. And so then you tell ChatGPT, guess what, chat? I actually want to try something different. Here's what we're going to do instead. Let's go. And now all of a sudden you can create some really cool and dynamic characters that were not only not on your mind before, but are like this beautiful blend between you and utilizing ChatGPT. All right, let's go back to my slides and share it again. All right, so let's talk about designing specific characters through dialogue. So this is engaging back and forth with ChatGPT to create those characters, and it's refining character traits through the discussion. Okay, so the example would be then, hey, chat, I need to create a villain who's sympathetic but menacing for my new fantasy series. How can we collaborate and design to create a really dynamic character together, right? So over here, I'm going to actually go ahead and revise the chat so that I'm not doing that one again. I'm going to hit stop and I'm going to grab my prompt, which is something I already have created so that we can do this together. And I'm going to share that window again. I have to get everything organized. So much work, guys. That's so fun. Okay, so here's my prompt. Hi, chat. Can we chat about a character I'd like to create for my upcoming urban fantasy series about vampires roaming a small town in Minnesota? I'd like to create a quirky, fun side character. I'm obviously using the same prompting so that you can see how the same prompt is going to treat you a little bit differently. And so when you do this, the chat goes, hey, Carissa, yeah, I'd love to help you develop the side character. And now you're going to start seeing some of the information about what it's thinking when it comes to like the personality type, like what could happen. And one of the things that I have found is when it starts to give a lot of information like this, where it kind of goes on its own and is giving so much information, you can press the stop button here and say, you know, something like, hi, chat, this is great. If I can type really fast with when I'm talking to you guys. But I want to go back and forth more slowly together to create this character. Let's just see. So it'll go, oh, okay, yep, yep, perfect. So let's take our time. So now it's asking, let me know where you'd like to begin. So it asks some questions. Should we dive into her personality quirks first, or maybe think about her backstory? Let's try the backstory. Let's start with the backstory. I was thinking she could be a oh geez, vampire slayer instead of a vampire. Thoughts? And then just see what happens. So as you go back and forth, it goes, ooh, I love that twist. I love one of the things that's really fun about ChatGPT is that fact that chat will always tell you that it's awesome. No matter what you tell it, it will go, oh my God, I love that thing. It reminds me of, Buffy the Vampire Slayer or all these things, accidental Slayer origin, or, whatever the case might be. And look at all the fun information that it starts to deliver for you. So it's giving you options when it comes to backstory. So which of these backstory ideas are resonating? And then you can answer it and you just keep going back and forth until you have a really dynamic character created. And what's really fun is it can take as long as you want it to, or as little time as you want it to when it comes to creating characters that are really dynamic. And as long as you're willing to onboard the information as you write, like it's so powerful because now all of a sudden you have this like way more well-rounded character than you ever had if you were trying to create a character on your own. I know for me that was definitely the case. I would often create a character and I think I would have who they are in my mind, but at the same time, there were little pieces that had I known it, I would have written differently, or I would have been able to deliver information in a slightly better way. And so when you have the information up front and it goes way more in depth than what you would have normally done for yourself, it can create a storyline that is way more powerful. All right, let's go back to the slides and continue onward, right? Okay. So, one of the things I want you to be thinking about when you're creating your characters, regardless of what type of process you're going to use to create the characters when using ChatGPT, is I want you to assign some different things that will really kind of dig into some quirkiness parts of their personalities, right? So, maybe think about assigning an Enneagram type to enrich personalities. And if you are in this or have ever checked out things that Claire Taylor is talking about, she talks about Enneagram for authors. This actually works really well from a character perspective as well. And you saw that when I was going through the character sheet, like what was their Enneagram type? It was a 7. And so if you need more advice on Enneagram 7, like how would they respond? How would they react? You can ask ChatGPT. They are excellent. Chat is excellent at being able to answer the questions, help you understand how an Enneagram 7 would respond in a situation, all sorts of goodies happening there. Another thing I want you to think about is determining your introversion or extroversion levels for your characters, because that'll help you figure out how they would respond. Like, are they really outgoing? Are they going to go ahead and do things? Are they going to blurt things out? Are they going to hold things in? How are they going to become real in the reader's mind, right? And then even explore neurodivergence and authentic responses. Again, what's really cool is with ChatGPT, when you feed it information, like let's say the character is autistic or the character is a psychopath. I have students who actually have done this where they're a psychopath and they create the character. And ChatGPT can help them understand how someone who is a psychopath would actually respond or react in a certain situation versus obviously you having to be a psychopath in order to understand. So helpful. It's very helpful. So let's talk about this, right? So using Enneagram in character development, even if you don't understand the Enneagram yourself, ChatGPT does. They are experts. They can really dig in and give you information about how your character is going to respond. And if you have that whole character sheet, regardless of how you do it, if you feed it back into chat and say, this is how this character is, it's going to be locked in this way. Let's go ahead and go through a couple of scenarios. How would this character respond? It's going to use the framework you've given it as a character to give you answers back on how the character will respond to any given situation. It's going to feel authentic, not only to the readers, but to who that character really is, right? So an example for your prompt would be, hey chat, what Enneagram type do you think my main female character is? So let's say you have already created your character and you have no idea what Enneagram type they would be. What could it be? You can ask the question. If you have a manuscript you've already written and you're trying to move on to to number two and you'd like to have this information, upload the whole PDF of your manuscript and let it read it so that it understands your number one, your story, but understands your characters, the development, how it's working, how they're all interacting. And then it can give you even more details and information about who your character is that maybe you didn't even know. Okay. So another one could be like, hey, chat, let's create a character who's an Enneagram 4 and then rock and roll from there. Just whatever your starting point is when it comes to creating your characters, allow it to function from that place, right? Okay, so exploring introversion and extroversion is important. These are things that I don't think authors, especially as we begin, really think about. So think about those. And so this means balanced social dynamics and interaction, determining where they are on that spectrum when it comes to introversion and extroversion, and using AI to predict their behavior. Again, prediction of the behavior is what's really important because we want them to be authentic, right? So, hey, chat, good prompt here. How would my main male character respond in this situation? Once it knows what the character is on that introversion extroversion scale, it's going to be able to give you that information, or at least as close as possible, so that it can help you to write a scene, a situation, help them to be able to overcome something. Like there's all sorts of ways that you can utilize this kind of process to make your characters more dynamic and then write them dynamically as well. Another big thing, like I kind of alluded to, is representing the neurodivergent characters authentically. And if we are not neurodivergent ourselves, then it's a little bit hard to understand where they're coming from. So, like if a character has ADHD, if a character is autistic, whatever the neurodivergence is, AI can research and understand those experiences and then be able to help you to write them more efficiently. I mean, think about how much easier it would have been to write Monk back in the day. I mean, that character is wonderful, right? But utilizing that kind of level of characterization and being able to make sure your character speaks and acts as quirky and fun as possible, that's what ChatGPT can help you do. So, an example prompt would be, hi, chat. Can you provide insights into how a character with ADHD might respond in a high stress situation? Or in the case of being a vampire, let's say they're human and they have to deal with a vampire for the first time. How would someone with ADHD handle that situation? Like, what would happen? Whatever the case might be, you can use chat to authentically represent neurodivergent characters so much better than just us trying to guess. And especially if we're not high on like the relationship spectrum when it comes to strengths, this is going to help you to be able to create those characters. Okay, so bringing characters to life with custom AI personas. Now, this is a fun one that I want you to just be aware of. It's a little bit more advanced when it comes to character creation, but it's super interesting and very powerful. And it's something that you can always play with down the road. So what this is actually developing a chatbot that embodies your character's voice, like specifically your character's voice. Okay. And then you can interact with it to understand their thoughts and reactions. And the benefits of this really include deepening character authenticity and dialogue consistency, exploring how they respond in various scenarios, like we discussed a moment ago, and giving readers an interactive tool to be able to play around with a character. Like if your series takes off, you can actually give them access to the chatbot, the custom GPT that is your character's mind, so to speak, and allow them to interact with the chatbot to see like how would this character respond if this happened, if that happened. Let's say they wanted to know an alternate ending or a different ship together, like whatever the case might be. How would they respond if that was the case? Like they can play around with it, and so can you. And so what this means is ChatGPT allows you to create custom GPTs, custom AIs, and you can feed that entire character sheet into ChatGPT. Say, hey, we're going to create a character persona. That's all this GPT is going to do. Here's all the information you need to know for right now about who this character is. Use it as if this is your mind. Okay. And when you drop that in there, it's going to operate from that base reference of who that character is. And then you can have the conversation with the chatbot, just like we were doing with ChatGPT now, as if it's your character. So you could be like, hey, Autumn Blackwood from the Windhaven Witches series, like, how's it going? Like, what are you doing today? Like, you could ask just normal questions, or you could go, okay, you just found out that your great grandma's a ghost and living in your house. How are you feeling about that? Whatever the case might be, you can go ahead and have those conversations and questions. Or you could be like, hey, I'm thinking about putting you in a situation that does this. How would you respond? and see what happens. There's all sorts of really cool ways to be able to utilize custom GPTs. I personally use it for far greater things than just understanding a specific one character. I use it for a series. So it has like a whole entire series arc. I have one that knows my entire backlist of books. I have one that understands certain elements of what I do with my career. So whether it be just like little snippets like my social media strategy and how I want the social media strategy to work, whatever the case is, I have custom GPTs that help me do a lot of things. So it's not just characters that custom GPTs can help with. Just keep that in mind. Okay, integrating AI characters into your story. So, number one, if you are writing solo, which I think most of us are because we're authors for a reason, we like to write our stories. So, most of us aren't using a whole lot of AI when it comes to the story creation of things, but it does help when it comes to obviously planning and plotting, right? So, your first job to integrate would be then to memorize your character sheet, the new character, understand how it's going to work, know how to play around with these characters and put them into the story. Number two, you're going to create a custom GPT for your story, series, or character, like we just discussed. Or number three, you can use chat to draft your stories with the knowledge that you're just giving it. So if you are co-creating, co-writing your story, you can do it that way as well. Personally, my favorite is to memorize the character sheet and be able to write the story because I love to write the books. Like I love that process. It's fulfilling to me. But that doesn't mean I personally don't believe that doesn't mean that you have to pick one or the other. There is no moral obligation to pick one or the other. This is a tool and you utilize it to the best of your ability and how you want to craft your stories. But just keep in mind some best practices for AI assisted character design, right? Be specific with your prompts for better results. So think about it like you are talking to your favorite person in the world and they're going to co create with you. And you have to give as much information as you have in your brain to be able to get it started. And if you have no reference yet, just keep it vague, but as specific as you know, like if you know your genre, if you know that the story is going to include witches, if you know that you want the character to be a side character, like whatever it is that you're trying to craft, make sure you're putting that in your prompt. Okay. Remember that AI is a tool, it's not a crutch. So if you find yourself in a place where you're leaning on AI's narration, creation of words and dialogue and storytelling, instead of using your own creativity, then what's happening is that you're no longer trusting yourself and you're not embracing your creativity in the way that it's meant to. Like I said, this is a tool. I want you to still like it doesn't matter if you're creating parts of scenes with it, as long as you're doing it in your creative voice, as long as you're using it in the terms of like you're prompting it and going, okay, this is what my character is going to do. This is what the scene's going to look like. This is how we're going to play it out. I want to make sure that there's some humor in here. And then let's see what your first draft looks like, chat. Let it do its first draft. And then you go in and you edit to the heck of it, right? You put in your 2 cents, you put in how you want it to flow. You're putting in all the little twists and turns and quirks that you know you want to write as the author. Just make sure you're putting in your creativity and you're not just going, oh, chat did it better than I could ever do it. So then I'm just going to let it be. And if you're burnt out and you're doing it because you're burnt out, time to take a step back. Okay. So my soapbox, just saying, I've been writing a long time. I know how these things go. So continuously refine your outputs to match your vision. Like I said before, when you're putting information into chat and it's not coming out exactly what you're looking for, you don't have to take it at face value. Just re-prompt it. Say, hey, I liked everything except for whatever, and then have it do the next best thing. Have it keep going until you're satisfied with how it looks. Okay. So here's a personal story from me because ChatGPT has been the single most revolutionary tool that I have used in my writing. So for me, I have used ChatGPT when it comes to character creation, to world building, to series arcs, to story arcs, to defining moments, to helping me get over a writer's block, to figure out how I'm going to have a certain hook happen, how I'm going to have the climax of my story happen. But what's been most beneficial for me, I think, as an author who's been doing this for years and years and years, is it feels like I'm no longer alone in the story creation. And that might sound weird because it's just a chat tool, right? It's just a tool. But like you saw, when you reprompt it, when you say something else, it's always very positive. So it's like, oh, I love that idea. That's great. And whether or not it actually believes it's really good, it's not the purpose. The purpose is to reassure us, right? And what's been so much fun is that it elevated my love for uncovering like the strategy of my new story, to be able to plan out like whatever the twists and turns were going to be. Like it made it fun again in a way that I hadn't felt in a very long time. And if you understand, like if you're writing more than one book a year, I typically write 3 to 4. It's like after a while it starts to become formulaic in the process of it, and it was not as much fun. And so it brought some fun and joy back into the creation aspect of writing stories. And I want you to realize that when you're playing with chat, it can be addictive. It absolutely can, because now all of a sudden it's like talking to your biggest fan, number one, because it's understanding what you're writing, it's understanding the characters you're trying to create, it's understanding the story that you're developing. You're doing it together, so it's like it's weaving everything in, and it's holding a very intelligent conversation with you about those things. So it's addictive in that way, but it's also addictive if you're not careful, if you're letting it write too much of the story for you and you're taking too much of a step back from your own creation process. So just be careful, like I said. But for me, it has revolutionized everything from the way I write newsletters to the way I create my social media content to the way that I am, drafting my strategies for launches, like all sorts of ways, not just character creation. So just keep in mind that this tool can be used in whatever capacity you're looking for. It doesn't have, like, you don't have to use it to write your books. You don't have to use it to create characters if you love to do that yourself. Think about how can chat help you do your job faster in cool and unique ways, okay? Because to me, it has absolutely changed the game, and I love it. I love it so much, and I know that it's something that I will consistently and continuously use in my business. All right. So now it's your turn to innovate, right? I want you to innovate. Create a character using AI, and I want you to share your experience if you can. Like, do it on social media and tag the Plot Geek Academy. Tag me at Author Revolution. Like, whatever you do, I want to know, like, what was your experience as you were creating your characters and learning how it works. And of course, if you'd like to learn more about what I do, you can head over to authorrevolution.org. Now, I do a lot of courses and content on AI, on manifestation, on how to just use strategy in authorship. I have a course called 4 Books, 5 Days, which teaches you how to use ChatGPT to create your entire series in 5 days. I have masterclasses on setting up your custom GPTs. They're all incorporated into what I do at Author Revolution. So if you're interested in what I do, like I said, head over to authorrevolution.org and check it out. And whew, there you go, guys. That's everything on character creation utilizing ChatGPT. I hope it has been an enlightening experience. I hope seeing those live examples helped you to see how it can create something as quickly as it can, number one, but as in depth too, because all that we are doing when we're creating, we have a lot of hats, right? And so character creation, world building creation, story plot, all the things, it's a lot of work, and sometimes we love that work. But when we're trying to increase our speed, or when we're trying to publish more than one book a year, or when we're just trying to, I don't know, wrap our heads around something different or fun, or what else can we do, chat is here for us to be able to be a creative sounding board and help us to uncover some hidden creativity that maybe we didn't realize we had. So I hope you enjoy. Have fun playing with ChatGPT, and definitely tag me on Instagram at Author Revolution and let me know how it's going for you. I'm really interested. All right, guys, thanks.